this is a side tangent. I have two different lists that it's always changing. I have my, greatest rappers list, and then I have my greatest rap artist list. 50 will always be a top five rap artist to me because of everything that encompasses it.
What's the distinction for you? Yeah. Go ahead.
So with the best rappers, you got more. So you're focused on the lyricism, you're focused on the skill, even the performance ability, things of that nature. Like 50 would be on my top five rap artists. He would be on my top five. He's not even in my top 10 best rappers, list. There are some artists on there, like let's take Jay-Z, let's take Kendrick. They would make both.
Well, I got you. I got you. I got you.
Yeah. So with 50 though, I mean, the marketing strategist that he is, the distinction that he held, because a lot of people try to compare him and Ja, but they're really different. And when you really think about it, there is nobody. There are people influenced by 50, but there is nobody that reminds you of 50, like young or old. He's his own type of person. And then if you look at how great he is as a rap artist with his ability to uplift his own label, like G-Unit was his own thing. He brought his own boys up. He made them platinum. And then
everything, got the game.
He got the game. Then he was hot as fish grease. Like 50 got so hot, he's doing features with Lil Kim and Missy as well. Then years later, got the Vitamin Water. Like, he's one of the greatest rap artists of all time. And that debut album of Get Rich or Die Trying, it just like created a ripple of so much that we didn't see coming beyond what was in front of us. The movies, eventually he becomes a huge TV producer.
Actor, yeah.
Yeah, now he's doing, he had the Vitamin Water for a while, random pop-up at the Super Bowl. Like, all of this stuff started with Get Rich or Die Trying. That's like his identity and his introduction right there.
Nah, that's a good point. I love that. Yeah, I love that. I think that album, I mean, that's arguably like, in terms of like a rise. I mean, if you just look at like sales in terms of like the biggest sale numbers, it's gonna be like 50 Cent up there with like Eminem and stuff like that in terms of like similar albums. Yeah. I mean, that one and then the next one, The Massacre. Those albums were Massacre did even better than Get Rich or Die Trying.
Oh, I got a point about The Massacre in a little bit, because The Massacre actually it has influence on the next album I'm gonna name. But go ahead, keep going.
Cool. No, I mean, I was just saying, like, in terms of just like an artist getting that big, you probably haven't seen that ever. You probably won't see like an artist do that well ever again. And probably in this current rap space, because just like how many artists are out now and how much you got to pull from like the artists that are here now. Because in that mid 2000s, it really wasn't like a guy that was like at the top. I mean, Lil Wayne came later.
Till Wayne came,
but that wasn't it. You know what? Right. That album came this album came 2003. It wasn't Wayne yet. Yeah. I mean, I guess you could say Eminem maybe might have been the guy, but so I mean maybe Jay-Z too, but it wasn't to the point where it was like, man, nobody's kind of reaching those guys. So yeah.
Oh no, it was off mid 2000s. So by that point, Nelly was on the decline. He dropped Grills in 2006, but
it wasn't.
He wasn't what he was.
It was like 2000, 2001. That was really his time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And then M has his commercial fan base. The guys that work out in like Monster energy drink shirts and shit.
Oh yeah.
But that was it.
Yeah.
Jay. So okay, the thing about Jay. Again, another side tangent. Jay has never been the hottest rapper. Never. He's always been the best. He's always been like a marquee rapper. He's never been the hottest. Like, he's always ran into something adjacent to him that was hotter. 90s, you had John Nori and Mace. Then you had X. Then the 2000s come. He has to deal with Nelly, M, and 50. Then he retires in the middle 2000s. So mid 2000s, he's a president and all of that now. But then he launches his own artists with Dream, Ross, Jeezy, Fab, etc., Rihanna, etc. But he still has to deal with Kanye. So yeah, man, like, it's hard to be the guy, be the hottest in the game, and Jay was never that, but
I think my only point. I mean, obviously, I wasn't like there, but I think the only one I would say is maybe when the Blueprint came out, maybe that might have been closer where he was the guy. That's all I'm thinking. Like maybe the Blueprint, but I think that's a fair point. Where like, did Jay-Z have the most popular album in a singular year? Probably not. You think about when you go through like the releases, even though they might have been the best. I think the Blueprint might have been the closest to like and being the guy.
He was a guy, but he wasn't the guy.
That's fair. That's fair.
Because people did go to the CD store on 9/11 to get that album, which you know what happened on 9/11. But the only problem with that is the Blueprint dropping was around the era. That was the first time we ever seen Jay kind of scrambling the way he was because he was dealing with Nas. So yeah, Nas had him on the scramble a little bit. So yeah, he was a guy. He just wasn't the guy.
I just didn't think that affect like how people receive the album. I feel you. I think that I'm not I'm not like stuck in like he was the guy, but I think that was the closest it would have been.
For sure. Greatest of all time, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
But yeah. Lastly, the small thing I'll add. I wasn't outside to hear Get Rich or Die Trying, but I know I actually bought the CD. I know that was probably one of the first CDs.
That's all that matter right there.
You know what I'm saying? So I was listening to it like, and in the club was just that big. Like that's one of them songs that like parents actually mentioned and like listened to and made jokes about. Like that was that first kind of introduction to it for me. Also on 50. In like watching old interviews or whenever the topic kind of comes up, I don't know if I've ever heard other people say that Jay like tried to warn people about an artist, and Jay was saying no, like 50, like when he get here, when he dropped, it's a wrap for a lot of y'all. So I think that's high praise, and since we have not heard Jay really I haven't personally heard Jay really make that claim. For anybody, not boldly, at least, you know what I'm saying. But he stamped people to a degree, or he's co-signed. But in terms of like him saying like no, like when he drop, like when he actually debuts, this will be a problem. So yeah. So Kevin, quick question for you. So I don't know if you caught the episode, but Pat, my co-host, when we were doing the in the midst of talking about the 7 artists to tell the story of hip hop for the last decade, we got to Game. Somehow I forgot how we got to Game, but he made the claim that Game was a top 15 rapper of all time. Would he be top 15 for you?
He probably wouldn't be top 15. I could make an argument with 25, but 15, it gets a little hard because of a few guys that are in groups. When you start looking at guys like, Meth, Raekwon, Ghost, and Wu-Tang, it's like they're all in one group, but you can make an argument they have their own placement in the top 20, top 15.
Ghostface for sure.
Same thing with Outkast. I'm of the belief I never put Big Boy and Dre far from each other. A lot of people, Andre 3000
Dre is way better. Yeah.
Big Boy is very underrated.
I think
it's got to the point where he's a little too underrated.
Yeah, I think Dre's style has made people like adapt to him easier because he's easier to understand.
And he has to put out music.
Yeah. But with Big Boy, if you go back and listen to some of his verses, he's right there with them. Like a lot of people really like, we have the argument all the time, who had the worst verse on International Players Anthem, because everybody killed it, but whose verse was the worst? Upon assessing that, you go back and listen to Big Boy's verse, you look at it, he kind of had one of the better ones. So it's like, damn, I can't say it's him. And,
I don't like that argument. They were all good.
No, they were all good, but it's like, how do you rank them? Because everybody smoked it. But at the same time, like, Big Boy has always like kept in line with Dre. A lot of people just don't adapt to his like his ear and his flow as well for some reason. So but to answer your question, I could make an argument for Game being top 15, but he would probably be more so top 25-ish. Maybe 20, because again, he doesn't have a bad album.
Maybe 20. I think 20 is easier to make than 15 for sure.
Yeah, well, now you got me thinking about it, because another thing I factor into best rappers list is who's battle tested. If
Oh
it
my gosh,
if it came down to beefing and like some diss tracks,
dude! Literally,
Game is clearing a lot of
I
niggas.
literally just did a story for work the other day where I did like a little thing on like the best diss tracks, and I was just thinking about the 300 bars diss track where it's like
Mm-hmm.
15 minutes long. He just going in on 50 Cent for like
Mm-hmm.
15 minutes straight. I mean, that's like
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous, dude. Like, if people forget he did that song on 1992 on Meek Mill, 92 bars. He went in on him too.
Yep.
He is just like, he doesn't have like the most iconic like diss tracks. You think, oh, but like in terms of just like going at people, he's up there.
Yeah, he's a strategist. So, he's great at freestyling. And like I said, bad person, but damn, he makes some good albums, like track to track to track.
I agree.
He's out rapping some of our favorite rappers. So I can see an argument for top 15, but it's just like so many other people you have to consider. So
No, I love that pick. I think the documentary is super underrated. I think because obviously, like, I think now people like to joke around with the game in terms of him just being like a social media guy. I mean, obviously he's hard to like. I get it. I mean, he's just like a guy that's kind of like, he's not a guy you easily root for. But you look at his albums, dog. Like, I mean, the documentary is great. I personally like The Doctor's Advocate a little more. But the thing is, like, he had some albums in the middle I think are good, but not great. But then when he came back with like the documentary too, that's like a great album too. And then 1992.
Hey, I'm not gonna lie. Jesus Piece though.
You beat me
Jesus
too.
Piece and Jesus Piece.
Jesus Piece is crazy. As a body of work.
That's not my favorite because I love the documentary too. And I love 1992. Those are like
fair. I like both of those too. I like both of those a lot.
Yeah.
But like Jesus Piece was one of those albums again, high school for me. Like an album, like that
had a moment. That was
had a moment for sure.
Yeah,
and I mean, for people that got introduced to game, like for people that got introduced to game with Jesus Piece, because some people did. I think there's a demographic
that was a younger generation.
Yeah, so but he has a straight like his album, like his discography is way more impressive than a lot of people will probably give him credit for.
Super consistent.
I mean, I ain't gonna lie to you. He actually had one of the best rap albums last year. Just to put that out there.
Oh, I disagree with that. I was about to say I disagree with that.
No, because he put a lot of tracks on there, but he was talking a lot of shit. And
he did drop.
This sounded like one of his most expensive albums based off all of the features he had. But you go back and listen to Drillmatic, he really got into his bag. If you compare it to the albums last year, he got into his bag deep.
I'm gonna say this right now. I hate long albums. I hate them. So
I agree.
It's very hard for me.
In present day, I agree.
It's very hard for me to 30 tracks on the album is hard for me to like.
30 rap tracks? That's tough.
In present day, I agree. Like growing up, because that was more common, it wasn't the worst. But if you're going to do that, it's like your margin of error is very, very tight because you have to get the right features, the right production, and it has to be cohesive. That's why I say he had one of the better tracks because, believe it or not, it was a lot of music, but he actually made it work. And again, he's rapping his ass off. It wasn't a lot of filler. Like we get a lot of 20 and 25 track albums these days where guys are just putting their favorite throwaway tracks that nobody ever wants to hear ever again on them, and that shit stinks. But I don't know, man. I like Drillmatic.
That's fair.
Agree, disagree. It's all good. Documentary is a great album, though.
Sure. Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, respect to game. At the end of the day, that's where we land on that. Interesting that you bring that up because I feel like I would struggle to bring up another woman's debut album that I feel like really had a moment outside of Cardi B. I feel like everybody else's debut album, I don't know if there was really a pop of like this artist is here because Meg's pop wasn't with her album. It was with the mixtape. And I know the album, when the debut album, like studio album finally came. Oh
yeah, it was a
disappointment in the sense of it wasn't very mainstream, very commercial, not what a lot of rap hip hop fans, so to speak, feel like we could have got based off of what we saw her do.
I don't think Meg's debut album, I don't think people love that album. People love the songs. I don't think people love that album.
Agreed.
I don't think people love that album.
Yeah,
and I think Beck fans will say that too. So
that's but I think the problem in that is obviously her mismanagement. But on top of that, it's like all right, this was your debut album, but let's be realistic. You had other tapes that should have been the debut.
That should have exactly.
Yeah,
I think people were like,
like,
people have all the mixtapes better anyway.
Yeah, and then too, by the time the debut comes, it's like, okay, we can tell you're making music that you don't even like. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's be real. Let's be real about it.
Good
so,
point. Yeah. It was like Cardi. It was like Cardi, and then like you got to go back to like Nicki's first album, where it was like the last impactful. Like,
And Nicki, I don't know how interesting the conversation around Nicki's would be. Nicki is Nicki, so the debut stands out in that regard. And I'm not even saying that I dislike Pink Friday. I mean, Nicki, I'm not a huge fan of Nicki. I have a lot of respect for Nicki, and I have a lot of respect for her ability and her skill. And when she does like drop fire verses, or when she does actually make good music. But for Pink Friday, I just feel like Nicki was art. I don't like that this is kind of against them or something that's used against them, but I just don't think the machine of Young Money can be discredited to the point where Nicki's status before Pink Friday even comes is just so massive that I'm not saying there was a point where no matter what she did, people were going to go with it, but
she was kind of playing. She was already ahead.
Yeah,
she was already
you already were ahead of the curve.
She was. That's always been one of my like highlights and criticisms. Is like, I mean, numbers wise or impact wise, she did her thing, but it's like, well, she was kind of the only person in her own lane at the time, because you have Kim was, she had the prison stint, and then pretty much was already on the decline. Missy had kind of wavered into songwriting, producing, and she wasn't at her peak anymore. Remy, great. She's a better rapper than Nicki, but as an artist, that wasn't really there for her. Plus, she had her in legal trouble. So it was like Nicki, and then because there was a period during like the BET Awards and like BMA Awards, like you would have these women in hip hop categories, but when you go back and look at them, it was like Nicki and a bunch of people that they weren't in the same commercial stratosphere as her, and it's like, all right, we know who's gonna win this. Like,
I was gonna make a joke and say Chanel West Coast, but I wasn't being serious with that. I wasn't really being serious with that.
Yeah, man, like who? Like,
she's actually terrible. She's actually terrible. She's actually terrible. People joke. I'm like, let me actually listen. She's actually terrible. That's not the point.
Yeah. So it's and a lot of people, again, I don't jump into this whole ordeal, but a lot of people have always felt like within the last few years that now that we have an abundance of other female rappers legit killing it, that's kind of like unnerved Nicki a little bit, to the point where it's like she doesn't enjoy having people occupying that space. I don't really get into all that. That's girl beef. They can have it. I kind of want them all to flourish. But at the same time, it's like, you really got to like let these people cook. So
I think that's fan bases creating a problem against each other. That's what I feel.
Hey man,
I think people who just like music are like, can we all just be good? That's what I think.
I mean, hey, I put it like this. I don't have a problem with it. It's just like, hey, put the shit in the music. Like, let's hear some diss tracks. I don't want to see all this Twitter back and forth.
Oh yeah, I always want music. Oh, that's always the number one. Yeah, it's like it's always music. Yeah.
I would love a diss track from a woman artist. Honestly, like it'd be like one line that's like a very, very subliminal that people be like up in arms about, and I'm like, no, I want the name drop. Like name drop her. I need her to have half of this verse be about her specifically, and we need to know for sure. Then
last one that really did it was Remy. That's when she did it.
Yeah,
that's when did it.
She's a legit rapper, but and I don't like to say this to diminish anyone, but it's just like a lot of their core audiences, though, they don't actually care about the bars and the
that's true.
The tactics behind it, because Remy could outbar a lot of men, but generally speaking, most of the women probably don't even care about that. So it's like they're probably not interested in diss tracks. We want to hear that shit, but
that's true.
We're not their targeted demo. Or
she was practicing with Papoose and all that stuff.
Yeah. Plus, she'll shoot your ass too. So
that's true too.
That is also very true.
I'm scared of Remy, to be honest with you.